With about 4 luxury projects in India, the Trump Organization has taken possession to become one of the important stakeholders in the real estate industry in the country. In this journey, a strong partner has been Tribeca Developers for the Trump Organization. Today we are joined by two very special guests, Donald Trump Jr. from the Trump Organization and Mr. Kalpesh Mehta from Tribeca Developers. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Let me start with you, Mr. Trump. You've completed 4 projects along with Tribeca Developers in the country. What essentially has changed since then in the context of the Indian real estate sector, which essentially gives you this new zeal to put your faith in the country again?
Well, listen, I think we got through some pretty rough times, right? You had a long-time downturn in the luxury real estate market and really the real estate market in India. You had sort of the disaster, of COVID where things were delayed, and even during that time, and by the way, you also had 4 years where we couldn't do new deals. And so when Kalpesh and I worked together for 6 years prior to that, 5 years prior to that, daily, we were just getting into the swing of things where we could have done, well, we had one deal we could have probably wrapped up before the presidency and still been able to fit in under the time frame. But we had a lot of deals that we could have done during that time frame. But what we really learned how to do is work together. We saw that even during the adverse times of a rough real estate market and during COVID and all of the craziness that was thrown at us in the world over the last 5-6 years, that our projects here were still able to outperform. The quality of product that we were able to build was still able to command a premium, sell at greater velocities. And so it's only solidified the model that even in arguably some of the roughest of times, we were able to still do incredibly well, overperform the market, overperform so many other brands that tried to come in, and change the skyline of some of the great cities of India. It just never took, but ours did. And I think that speaks volumes to our brand, but it also speaks volumes to sort of the level of commitment and quality that Kalpesh, his team, and our partners in all of these jobs have been able to deliver. I mean, just truly world-class real estate in a market where there's not a lot of that.
I just want to ask you, Kalpesh, this next set of expansion that you just spoke about today, what does it entail? How many projects under this next set of expansion? Which would be the cities that you've targeted? Because that's also very important. And finally, have you selected the developers who would be taking on this project from that point?
So look, there are 2 parts to our expansion plans for Tribeca, right? One is the Trump portfolio and the second is the Tribeca portfolio. For the Trump portfolio, we're looking at your standard 7 metros, where we do residential, Trump offices and Trump villas. And the non-Trump portfolio, which is the Tribeca portfolio, that would be focused on Mumbai, Pune, and Delhi NCR. The non-Tribeca portfolio we kind of do, on our own, along with, land or development, developer partners. But for the Trump portfolio, we're looking at partnering with, the best developers, in those micro markets, where they can take care of the land approvals and all of that, and then we can come in, Tribeca can come in and take care of everything else. Real estate is such a local business that just like Don can't operate in India, without somebody like us. We can't operate in another different micro markets without very strong local partners who are good at managing the environment over there and letting us do what we do best, which is product and sales and marketing.
Okay. Very fascinating. The name has been catching my attention, Don. I wanted to refer to you with that name once in the interview, but just wanted to understand in terms of developers that you'd be selecting. Could Lodha has developed one project for you that's in Mumbai. Could that company figure out in the list again when it comes to taking on this new set of expansion?
100%. I mean, and that's the reality. Because it's, at least on the residential components of these buildings,
correct,
once a building is built and sold out, we sort of can go back in that market and do it again. So I think Mumbai is an incredible market, very large, I think incredible opportunities there. We wouldn't, not that we wouldn't be able to, but we wouldn't want to build 2 buildings across the street simultaneously with 2 different partners and compete against each other, because it's just not the way we conduct ourselves. But the reality is, because these buildings are now so far done and complete and delivered, we basically have access to go to any of the markets again. I'd love to do something with a Lodha again, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be exclusive to them. If someone has something else that's in the works that fits what we would do, right? I could put our brand on 200 projects in India. They just may not really be Trump projects, even if we're doing that. I think that's the mistake that many brands did.
Correct.
They said, well, we want to enter the market, so we'll slap our brand on something else, and we make cars somewhere else, and they get there, and then people see the end product, and it's underwhelming. that's a little different for us. So we want to be very careful about that and choose only the finest projects.
For our viewers, help us understand what goes in this game from your end. Is it sort of investment that also goes, or is it just the name for which you get the royalty? And how do you derive, how much revenue do you derive? How is that mechanism working?
Well, we don't discuss the details of that. Every project's unique. Different projects, command different premiums depending on what we're doing, what the opportunity is. We haven't typically, invested alongside when we've gone into other markets just because we're so unfamiliar with those markets. To do that right, you staff up a team and construction expertise. What we would rather do is bring a team of experts that understand value engineering, that understand marketing and design and focus on that and work with the existing teams on the ground. Not to say that we wouldn't, but the reality is when we've had the relationships that we've had, the successes that we've had, we're sort of leaving a model that works, leaving well enough alone. If we were to do it, and it's a possibility, we would do it alongside partners like this. I don't think we'd likely come into the market and say, you know what, we're going to do it on our own and compete against people who've been in the markets for 30 years and they're friends with everyone and every board that needs everything to get signed off on. It's a very locals game. And even the Trumps don't have the hubris to assume that you can do those things perfectly in another market where it would make sense. And so we're very happy with the model that we have. We're incredibly happy with the partnerships that we've developed, and it continues to work well for us.
Okay, one question for both of you, where quickly you guys can come in. There have been a lot of regulatory changes also in the Indian real estate sector, be it RERA, consumer protection, state, center, all of them putting in efforts to propel home sales. What's most exciting for you, and then what's most exciting for you?
Most exciting for me in terms of
In
what?
terms of the regulatory change that has unfolded in the last 2 to 3 years, what excites you the most?
Look, RERA has been the biggest game changer. It's given consumers the confidence that things will get delivered, that the money will not get siphoned. It's brought in a level of clarity and a lot of and a level of discipline into the sector. It's weeded out a lot of the guys that probably could not perform. So I think in general it's good for branded, high-quality developers who wanted to do the right things anyways.
Okay.
Well, I think, from an outside perspective, that's incredibly important as well, right? Because people oftentimes, they're buying because of this, but if the developer's not acting accordingly, we saw that, a long time ago before we, as an outsider coming in, well, how much is that really selling for, right? There's the number that's on paper, and then people show up with a briefcase of cash, and it's a little bit different. It was actually a big part of our relationship. We didn't worry about that because of the understanding that we had amongst ourselves, the trust in the relationship that we had, but it certainly would impact any other brands looking to get in, where they may be getting involved with a partner who may not be, let's call it, as honest. So from us, and for the fact that people are putting in, and you had a lot of sort of failures, right? People put down a deposit, something never gets built, money disappears, it's a problem. So even from us as an outside perspective, knowing that the consumer is going to be protected and taken care of is a big part of that. That's why we're putting our brand on a project. We expect to deliver for those people.
Okay. One question that I want to understand from you, when Donald Trump became the president, of course, there was fair bit of impact that came on the firm's business. You couldn't license transactions. Now that he's in the race again, does that sort of worry you that the business may take a backseat and get impacted? And how do you insulate that?
Well, listen, I think we can make those decisions now, and it's really only once he assumes that position of power that anything would change. So we have a long way ahead of us, just because you're 2 years out from any kind of election. And again, in an ordinary relationship, that would be tight because you don't have the same things. You're looking at at this point between the Tribeca team, Kalpesh, myself. We can get things done a lot faster because we've done this now so many times, right? It's just, it's very easy. It accelerates that process. It allows us to get things, done much quicker. And so it's less of a concern, certainly, for now.
So you'll take a backseat as far as if, in case Donald Trump is to become the next president?
Correct. Then we'll worry about that in 2 years, but I think we have a lot we can do in the 2 years prior.
Mr. Trump, you've sort of seen the global market. You've presence in multiple economies in various businesses. As far as real estate is concerned, in the list of global markets, where does India feature right now for you in terms of your expansion?
Listen, I mean, right now globally, it'd be number one. I mean, I think there's it's the largest market outside of the U.S. For us already. I think given sort of the demand that we're seeing, the opportunities that have been presented, and we may see a lot of opportunities that we say no to because it doesn't fit our brand. We got to stay true to that. But I think it continues to be, and I think when you have someone as sort of motivated and entrepreneurial as Kalpesh, I may not have a choice. It may become number one, even including the U.S.
I told Don that we're the second largest market right now, but in 10 years, I'm going to try and make India the largest market for Trump-branded properties.
What's the next business that you're looking at in India?
Well, you never know. We'll have to figure it out. But I think there's an incredible opportunity. I think
He's giving me ideas.
Yeah, you get to work. Yeah, you get to work.
I mean, we all hope that this partnership does some great work in other businesses as well. But anything looks interesting to you at this point of time?
Our focus has been real estate. As a company, it's always been real estate, or the business is around real estate. But listen, there's no reason there couldn't be resort or hotel for us in here. Obviously, we're already having some conversations about potential commercial sites. So, I imagine it'll stay within real estate, but doesn't have to.
Okay, we'll all hope to see you in other businesses. One last question. Your father, of course, is in the race to become the next president of the United States. How involved are you in that entire process? How do you help him? How do you strategize with him? And how confident are you of this happening one more time?
Well, I'm confident in the message. I'm confident in what he's able to deliver. I think we have to get through a lot of hurdles through the way our election cycles work. And, right now I think it's probably much less about a candidate than it is about a ballot harvesting operation. And I think we have to learn how to focus on that. The Republican side is always a very late adapter to that. The Democrats get much more creative, in how they do that, whether weaponizing sort of COVID to change things or to do that. Because, when I look at the issues, when I look at the economy, I don't think we're losing on issues.
Okay.
I don't, not even a little bit. But I think we're losing in the way that we handle those things and have tried to do that and refuse to adapt. So I think we have to do that, and I think that's critical, and I think that'll be a big part of whatever we do over the next 2 years.
Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking to you. Pleasure talking to you, sir. Hope to see more beautiful projects, coming on the skyline of the country. Thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.